Greetings and salutations. My name is John. Welcome to my channel. This is the first video for this channel. Hopefully the start of many, many more. Today is June 2nd, 2020. If you are seeing this video in the next 30 to 60 days, you'll very much be aware that a lot has transpired in the last 8 days. Unfortunately, there's been a tragedy. George Floyd was murdered by the former officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and sparked huge protests that have been huge turnouts for the last 8 days. So I kind of want to just share my thoughts and give some feedback on, what I see has transpired and changed in the last 8 days. Um, my thoughts are with the George Floyd family, and and I join them in their hopes and fight to have justice served, and the former officers get convicted. All four get convicted of what they're charged with. Um, I want to talk about the protests. With the protests there, they've been great. We haven't seen turnout like this in a very, very long time. The magnitude and also the amount of protests. They're in almost every major city. They're in every state in the United States and also internationally. I mean, you want to check out France, you want to check out Amsterdam, you want to check out New Zealand. Massive, massive solidarity protests. They're also linking, the Black Lives Matter movement here in the U.S. with some of the injustices that have been going on in their communities. But I want to talk about the protests. Um, they've been great. I've participated in a couple in my local area. Great turnout, great energy. We were getting our points across, and people are out there, and not just demonstrating against the police and chanting, moving around, gaining attention, using the media. But there have been a lot of people out there protesting. A lot of them for the first time, and they've been doing it. Um, they've been doing it even though the law enforcement has deterred them. I mean, they protest through tear gas, smoke bombs, shoving of shields, what have you. They've been very consistent. There's a lot of outrage. People understand I don't want to say a lack of leadership, but there's authoritarian leadership that's currently occupying the White House. And there are dangerous times ahead of us. Your president, he's going to be who he is. He's going to continue to be marginalized, and he's going to be very, very dangerous this summer and in the early part of the fall. So a lot of sentiment from like the resistance, anti-Trump sentiment has inspired people to come out and join Black Lives Matter movement in getting justice for George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. Which is all great. And also what we've seen is another element of vandalism, rioting, and looting. I'm no historian, but I don't think there have been this turnout for anything as far as social justice since the United States invaded Iraq in 2004, I believe. And also the element of rioting and looting, I don't think that has been what we've seen in the last 8 days since maybe the early 70s, late 60s. So, last 3 days I've been throwing around the term in my own head saying it's a new day. I really believe it's a new day. One, in part because of the turnout. Two, with the rioting and the looting, I think the law enforcement aspect of the state has been exposed. The the people have shown that law enforcement can't control them. That's why you see, National Guard units out. Your president, he's, put different aspects of the military out, and at least defending himself. Bunker Boy had to run down to the bunker a little while and try to make up for it with his stunt going through Lafayette Park and posing for a picture in front of the church. And it's demonstrating that he's increasingly more dangerous. So I don't know what's ahead of us, but I just kind of want to start that conversation with this video. Hopefully, learn from you and also continue to think about what's going on and how I want to engage. And be a catalyst for how you engage and understand things. Um, there's with the rioting. It's nothing I've seen. You have protests and people deciding to. There's some conflict between whether protests to be peaceful or have an element of rioting. They burnt down a precinct in Minneapolis. They and setting police cars on fire. The looting's a different thing. I think a lot of it has to do with opportunism, but they were defacing statues, and I'm not being critical. You probably looking at my face as I'm being critical, but I'm just like, it's something we haven't seen before. And I think I don't know what's to happen because the state has been exposed. The people have demonstrated their strength, and for me, I'm not trying to minimize anything, but there really hasn't been this much turnout, especially for right after a video surface of law enforcement murdering a civilian, unarmed civilian. Many times it comes after a not guilty decision by a jury or judge. I think that the movement has grown, and we've really seen what we're capable of this past week, and it's very interesting to see how the Black Lives Matter movement leverages elements in the future. In the past, there wasn't rioting to this level. There wasn't any looting, but yeah, I believe that, not that I don't want to ever protest again, really, but knowing this state and the state of interactions between law enforcement and people of color, um, if and when it happens, especially this summer when a lot of people are out of work, and there's distrust with this guy occupying the White House. I don't know what's going to happen, but the rioting is a factor, and as the Black Lives Matter movement decides to protest and educate, the element's going to be there in local municipalities and governors, and the president will have to decide what their reaction is. But people have shown tremendous strength in being civil disobedient, blocking traffic, defying disbursement orders, curfews, smoke bombs, tear gas, pushing, shoving, also the media as well. And it's just it's interesting to see what's going to happen ahead of us. Um, I don't know what else I wanted to kind of like touch on. I had a lot of thoughts, and it's just kind of difficult for me to fit them in this little bit of time, 15 minutes. But you know, check the check out the video, but kind of leave me your feedback. What are your thoughts? What do what as far as like what happened, what's going to happen in the future. I appreciate it. I want this to be a dialogue, and hopefully, I've highlighted some things. Hopefully, I can learn things from what you want to share. So, everyone, take care, be safe,